Hey guys, good morning, good evening, depending on your time zones.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, good morning, Abhishek.
Right. So, before we start, any questions?
Uh, yeah, Abhishek, I have.
Please tell me.
Yeah, I have gone through third and fourth video as well, the time dimension and version.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, I got to know the monthly calendar type, but for weekly, I have one doubt. Like
Please tell me.
there is one option, extra week for 53-week year falls in period. So what is the use of that and what does it mean?
Okay. Anything else?
No, rest I'm good.
Sure. I'll answer this question to you. Okay.
Okay, okay, sure.
Maybe after today's session, or maybe like we'll connect separately on this. Okay.
Oh, okay, sure, sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, anything else apart from that?
No, rest, it's good.
Okay. How about you, Liu? Any question?
No.
All good. Right. So, so what was the last topic which we discussed yesterday?
List, hierarchy list.
All right. So we discussed about hierarchy list. Did we discuss about flat list?
Oh,
No.
Okay. Okay. Let me share my screen. All right. So here comes the other type of list that we are going to be covering today, and that is called a flat list. So what these flat lists are like, possibly the data sets where you can't make a hierarchy. So I mean that's little opposite of a hierarchical list. So before I tell you more about flat lists, just keep this thing in mind that a list by default is going to be a flat list. Okay. A list by default is going to be a flat list. So if you have like, any datas as such where there can't be possible relation between these different datas, they will fall under a flat list. Let's take for an example, if I just talk about any of the transactional data, the transactional data could be possibly your the transactional data could possibly be your for instance sales history data or opening inventory data. So these data, if you think, you can't make any relation with the parent. Okay. For example, if I tell you like, hey, I want to know the size of the packaging material, I in this scenario as well, there won't be any possible hierarchy. So any of the data sets where you can't maintain a possible hierarchy, those are going to be called a flat list. So it's going to be very straightforward, not much to do. There's no configuration as such involved because, like I mentioned, a list by default is going to be a flat list itself. And that's how you are going to be creating this. So nothing much to cover over here. So I'm going to be moving ahead with the next type of list, and that is a numbered list. And we'll see what this list is all about. So the other day, when, if you guys remember, when I was trying to enter the members into the list. So over there, when we and try to enter the duplicate values, we got an error, right? Now, Colombo was the figure which we are trying to enter into the country list twice, but we were in table two. Now the point is, if Colombo you can't enter twice, let's imagine a scenario where you have an employee data with you. There could be for sure multiple employees with the same name in an organization. If the organization is a huge one, there could be multiple names of employees if the organization is going to be a huge one. So, what to do in these scenarios when you have the multiple members with the same name? Because you ultimately need to feed those data as well into your list. Now, if you have a scenario like this, where the members of the list are duplicates and you want to make sure that the data is feed into the system, in those scenarios, you're going to be creating a numbered list. Now, let's try to understand further details about the same. So, model builders use numbered lists to manage duplicate names in a model, like I mentioned. And what happens, like for each of the duplicate members or each of the members which you add in a number list, a unique system generated ID gets formed. Okay, so each of the members which you add in numbered list, a unique SSID is formed. So, for an instance, if I add in 10 names in a normal flat list or a hierarchy list, for the CPU, I mean, for the Anaplan's memory, for the Anaplan's calculations, they are going to be the face values, those names. But here in Anaplan, whatever the members you add in, for those members, a unique system generated ID is formed. And you have these unique system generated IDs with you. That's how the system is going to be reading that into its space. Now, for an example, if I entered like, Abhishek as one of the member of that list, the system will not read that as Abhishek, rather it will, read that as some unique code, maybe hash 001. Now, the problem is the system reads it as hash 001. It inputs or takes this data as hash 001. But how we as an end user will understand like what hash 001 stands for, or what these SSIDs stands for. So we don't have any visibilities, and obviously, that's not the best way. Like, hey, I tell you, like, hey, has 002, the salary is this, has 003, the salary is X, or maybe some $100,000, whatever. That's not going to be making much sense because you can't, have your calculations or you can't have your assumptions on the basis of these hash symbols. Possibly, you need to have in the names so that you can, differentiate among the values. Now, there's an option in Anaplan, and that is called a display name, which is going to be used to identify the numbered list items. So you're going to be seeing that how to create the display name in a while once we are into our practical sessions. And the rest we are going to be, discussing once again once we create the list. So right now, I'm just stopping sharing my screen. I'm gonna be, probably maybe logging into my workspace, and we'll just create one numbered list. Okay. So I'm just trying to log into my Anaplan workspace, and I'm just opening the model which we have been using throughout. So this is our model L1MGM. That's what we are trying to use. And over here, let's try to put that. And then this is the normal list which is there. All right, so here are a list, few of the list available, and if we just try to see how these are created, let's have a quick look. So we already have a hierarchy in place, and if I have to create a list, normally a normal maybe a flat list, I just need to click on here insert, and we are going to be creating a list that is called an employee list at this point of time. So I just created one list, employee. And now we are going to be adding in few members into this employee list. So all right, so just added in few of the members into this employee list, and we'll assume like these many employees are there into this list. That is an employee list. So like I mentioned, a list by default is a flat list. Okay, so this is currently a flat list, and if I just try to enter any member here, so I just want to add in another Abhishek here. Possibly, though I don't get an error, but still I won't be able to add in another Abhishek. I don't see any other entry for Abhishek out here. All right. So what we need to do now is we need to create another type of list that is a numbered list to accommodate something like multiple Abhishek, right? So I go to the general list option here, and then I'm going to be adding in or creating another member here, and that is the another list, that is employee list. If you notice something over here in my employee list, this time I have included a hash symbol at beginning. Now what this hash symbol is doing over here, if I just try to understand, so that's like a standard naming convention for your numbered list. So you use a hash symbol, which is going to be acting, or which is going to be used to mark the standard naming convention for your numbered list. So any of the numbered list, if you have to create, you need to add in these hash symbols by default. All right. So you have the hierarchies, which are in the form of G1, G2, G3. Probably, 1, 2, 3 is depicting the levels: first level, second level, third level. G, you just added in as a form like at the beginning, marking geography. It could be like any of the alphabet which you think of is appropriate. Since it was geography, I used G. Products, I could have used P. So similarly for employees, the naming convention, the standard one is adding a hash symbol. Now there is something like your employee list. This is a flat list, so here we don't follow any standard naming practices. Okay, so it's going to be pretty straightforward, like you just take in and you just include it. No standard symbol or anything else that we are going to be adding over here. All right, so apart from that, what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be just entering few of the members into my employee numbered list. I just don't want to write jot down the names once again. So I'll just go to general list, employee, and currently this list is still a flat list. Mind you, we haven't done any configuration as such to mark it as a numbered list. I click on insert and I click OK. And I've just added in a few of the members into my employee numbered list. What I need to do is I need to go to the configure. I need to click on the numbered list. And you guys, how I went? I went to the configure option. Configure option is where you're going to be defining a configuration for the entire list level. And I enable a numbered list checkbox over here. I click on apply. And what happens? Numbered list contain line items or list items with unique identifiers. So I have converted this into a numbered list. The expected results are going to be like whatever the members were there, where you were seeing the face value, you're going to be seeing the hash symbols now. All right, so there she goes. So you see multiple hash symbols over here. Now the problem is, and one of the difference rather, if you try to insert a member into a numbered list, you see one thing, it's mentioned number of items which you want to insert. You see an option, number of items which you want to insert. So maybe if I mention like I want to insert maybe,
Abhishek,
yep,
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, the screen is not clearly visible for me.
okay. Well, how about you?
It's blur.
Okay, Mailu, is it same for you as well?
I think it's okay. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I'm just stopping my sharing once again, and maybe I'll reshare.
Yeah.
Let me know if it's okay now. Polly, is it okay now?
Don't know, but same thing. Because I have also have network. I don't have a network issue. Okay.
Like you see how it's here as well.
Yeah.
So,
Might be
what
some
to do?
issue.
What to do? What to do? Mm, is it like completely blurred?
No, it's not completely blurred, but I'm not able to read the like you have put the list number. No, I'm not able to read that one. This one are unique identifier generated for that list, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll manage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So creating list way is the same, right? We need to configure it to differentiate, right?
Exactly. We need to go to the configure and enable
Mhm.
this checkbox that is a numbered list.
Okay. The creation
So
will be same for all type, right?
yeah, creation.
Oh.
See, we don't say like creation is same for all type. Rather,
Mhm.
yeah, you can if you want to say the statement could be like this. I mean, you create a normal flat list and then you convert it into either a hierarchy or a numbered list.
Yeah, the naming convention will be different for each list.
Yeah, I mean that's a standard practice. Even if you don't follow this naming convention, that doesn't mean you can't create the list, but that's a
Mhm.
standard practice which we recommend to follow.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing to notice over here, if it's like I mentioned, I just missed out. I think I will repeat it once again. Let me delete in the members here. So once I click insert over here, I see an option like insert into employees, number of items. Just keep a note of it. When I try to insert something into a numbered list, I see number of items which you want to insert. Suppose I mentioned 2 over here, then I see hash 18 and hash 19. I don't see hash 16 and hash 17 because I just deleted that. So what does that mean? These system generated IDs are unique throughout the model. The system generated IDs are unique throughout the model. So the matter of fact is you can't have in the duplicate members or duplicate SSIDs. So these SSIDs are going to be unique. Even if you delete this SSID today, tomorrow you can't come and just generate a new SSID. The SSIDs are going to be unique throughout the scope of the model. Okay. Now, since it's going to be unique, and even if we try to insert the members into the list, we see the values like insert the number of items which you want to enter. Whereas in a normal flat list, if you click on insert, so you see insert into employees. It's not asking you the number of items which you want to insert. And that itself speaks. Suppose I have another employee, maybe Mayank. I insert Mayank over here, and the Mayank's face value gets entered. But in a numbered list, what happened? It asked me number of items which you want to enter. It didn't ask me the name of the item which I should be entering. Because the SSIDs are formed here by default in Anaplan system itself. So these SSIDs are unique. You can't, have any relation or you can't create an SSID on your own. So these are going to be the unique values. Okay. Since these values are going to be unique and the SSID gets formed, it looks like this. Now, if I just talk about, the report creation thing, okay, we are not going to be observing how we are creating this report. I mean, the steps involved here, we will come to it little later. But if I just tell you, and add in few details here in this report. Let's not much be worried much about the steps right now. We'll cover these separately. Right now, we're just trying to understand a number list here. All right, so there are two reports. In one report, I have used a normal flat list for an employee. In the other report, I have used a numbered list for the employees. In the other report, I have used a numbered list for the employees. That is over here. Now, you see these hash symbols coming in hash 1, 2, 3, and blah, 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 blah. You see these figures coming in. But if I tell you, like, hey, can you tell me the salary of Manfred or maybe Sandra over here? You can very well can't tell me, like, you don't have a visibility itself, like which hash symbol stands for what, right? You don't know the member name, and it's not possible. Like, you tell me that hash one salary is this. I don't know what this hash one or hash two stands for. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. So what you need to do is in your employee list, that is a numbered list, you need to create in a property additionally, and you're going to be naming it a display name property. All right, so there comes a new tab, property tab. So what are the properties tab? Property tabs are the gives us an option if we want to include the metadatas or any other additional information about the members. We are going to be using the properties tab. So I just am creating one property, and that is called a display name property. A display name property usually will be a text, and what's the purpose of this display name property is when you are going to grid view and you see, you can very well define and map like which of the members are going to be matching with the which SSIDs. For an example, I have just copied the data from here and I just pasted it. So what happens? I have one property, I have one metadata, because in my grid view I can see the metadatas. What I see over here, I have done the mapping hash 1 for Abhishek, hash 2 for Manfred, hash 3 for Sandra. Right? So if you just try to understand and visualize a little over here, you have just defined what hash 1, hash 2, hash 3 is going to be standing for. All right. So in this type of definition, when you have defined the what hash 1, hash 2 stands for, what you need to do is next, you need to make sure and check out that the module which you used, though you have added in like, okay, hash 1 stands for Abhishek, hash 2 for Manfred, 3 for Sandra, you haven't, you still don't see it over here. Ideally, you should see like what's Abhishek, what's Manfred, this is Sandra, but you don't still see. Or rather, a possible way still could be, I check in a hash one here. Okay, if I have to tell you what is this hash one standing for, I'll go to this list. And okay, and I'll check it to the grid view, like, okay, hash one, okay, that's the Abhishek. But obviously that doesn't sound a best way. Rather, what I want is all these values over here should come in this part. So Manfred should come in 2, Zandra should come in 3, Oliver in 4, and so on and on. Right? So if we have a task similar like this, where we want these SSIDs to be overlapped with the display names, we need to do further action. And how to do that is, mind you guys, the expectation is I want to bring these display names over here in these SSIDs. So I go to a general list option and I click on the employee list, and I see over here there's a property specifically called a display name property here. That's a display name property. I click here on the display name property, I click on the display name. And once I click on the display name, guys, what I've done, there's a display name property option into the general settings of a list. So what I've done, I went to that numbered list and I have defined the display name property for that numbered list, and I have named it a display name. And then once I have defined it, that the display name, the magic happens, and these values are now coming in here. So your SSIDs are lost now. You don't see an SSIDs. And even if you go and check out this report, you see the actual names coming in. So what happened right now? What display name did? So display name was acting as a extra layer, or it's more like a masked layer which you put over the SSIDs. Display name is a masked layer or an extra layer which you put over the SSIDs, on top of the SSIDs. And once you do that, what happens? The SSIDs are overlapped and you see the display name on top of that. But mind you guys, in the backend into the memory, it's still a SSID. Don't feel that that's like a name is something which you have just overlapped using a display name properties on top of these SSIDs. But into the backend, Abhishek is still known as hash one only into Anaplan calculations, or maybe Anaplan memory. Okay, so it's just a masking which you do for your understanding. So suppose we have to enter any duplicates over here. Let's try to understand whether we can do it or not. So I'm just trying to add in a couple of members. So what happened? I just added in two members over here. They are like, again, SSIDs. And what I need to do is I need to add in a display name. Maybe I'll just add in Abhishek. I press enter. I have just added a duplicate entry into the same list. Mind you guys, the reason why we are able to do that is because, like I mentioned, display name is nothing but a masking which you are doing over the top of your SSIDs. So you have Abhishek, you masked it with Abhishek, the hash IDs. You are not adding in a duplicate member here. What you did, you just masked the duplicate members. The reason why system allows you to do this is because for the system it's not another Abhishek which comes in. For the system it's a unique ID, maybe hash 20 it was. But what you did on top of that, you just over coated, you applied an extra layer, and then you added a display name, which is something which you see, but still into the backend it's still hash 20. And that's the reason why your system allows you to have the multiple SSIDs which can hold unique or maybe duplicate names. That's not a problem. If I add in another Abhishek over here, so here comes the display name Abhishek. All right. So what you see right now over here is the display name Abhishek, which has just rolled on the top of the unique SSIDs out here. There's another advantage of using a numbered list is possibly what? The identifiers which you see over here. Okay, so the naming identifiers, if it's more than 60 characters, so for instance, I'm just randomly putting on some values. Right now it's able to enter, it's not more than 60. Suppose I have the identifiers, which is like more than 60 characters. Okay, I get an error, possibly invalid name too long, maximum 60 characters. So what does that tells you? The identifiers into the list should not be more than 60 characters. The system will not be able to hold the identifiers which are more than 60 characters. But what if you have a situation like this to handle? In these cases, in these scenarios, again, a numbered list could be handy. Reason being, you just add in a member over here. Suppose I just added in a member over here. It's not uh 60 character identifier into the backend, into the system, but rather it's still only has 2022. And now you add in a display name and you just put in this number or name, and you see this values coming in. Okay, you see the values, which are more than 60 characters identifier. And the reason for that possibly is because you can easily you can easily have in the members over here, right? You are able to easily store in the values over here, which is even more than 60 characters. Reason being, you are just not creating a member into the list which is more than 60 character identifier, but rather you are just adding in a display name which is more than 60 character identifier. Into the backend, it's just still maybe a 2 or 3 digit unique code. That's it. And that's how you have just created the possible member which is having an identifier more than 60 characters. So these two are the most common advantages of using a numbered list. The first one is obviously, I mean, if you have to manage the duplicate entries into the list, if you have duplicate members, the possible ways to create a numbered list and add these values. And the second one, possibly if the character identifier is more than 60 characters, which has to be part of your member or which has to be part of your list. In that scenarios, you're going to be using this numbered list. And apart from that, if you see,
Abhishek,
yep, please tell me.
yeah, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I have one doubt here. Like, to utilize this facility, we have to add display name over here, right? For the display property.
Correct.
Yeah, but if you put filter, I mean, if I want to take the record of Abhishek, then how system will act? I mean, how it will get filtered because we don't know which hashtag is using by this Abhishek. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to put another filter, right?
Yeah. So what system does is,
Mhm.
if you see a preview here, okay. So for any of the members which are duplicate, okay. So you will have, if you see here, you will have this name along with suffixed with that SSID. So Abhishek has 20, Abhishek has 21. That's how they
Mhm.
create the difference. Now, if you just see over here, but still you don't see like which Abhishek stands for which one,
Yeah.
right? So what you need to do is in that case, possibly you need to have an extra differentiating factor or an extra property. Maybe like there could be one Abhishek with a employee ID of 10. There could be another Abhishek with employee ID of 11, right?
Mhm. Right.
So maybe you can just store those values over here, okay, into your codes. Or maybe you can create any other property if you want to differentiate Abhishek on the basis of the region from they belong to. You can have an additional property like is country or region, and then you just define in the maybe place for all of the employees. So possibly Abhishek would be from different regions. Even if they are from the same region, then possibly you just need to find in a primary key where which you can differentiate. So the primary key property which I believe I can add in at this point of time is an employee ID. So I'll put those employees ID in the codes, and my job done. Makes sense, right? Or
Yeah.
confused? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with this, I see another thing right now that I did something in code. The parent, we understand. Parent is the definition at the of the members of what parent they are. Code is something which is like by default given by the business itself. For an example, a lot of time the lists like or the places like if you have suppose like country. So if I see the grid view over here, if I see there's no code right now, but a lot of time internally there are certain members which are understood by a system in a different way. For example, India could be taken up as an IIN into the backend. Maybe the system assumes India as IN. So that's how the naming convention, that's how the code of India looks like. Maybe the CH is for China, SR is for Sri Lanka, UK, you have UK out there, Germany is GE, France FR. So these are the unique codes which are there existing into the backend of the system, and we as a model builder are not the one who are going to be developing these codes. These codes will be given by the business to us. We just need to enter that data, and possibly you could have few members with the different codes existing in nature. Okay, so you just add in these codes. Okay, if there you have to store it somewhere. And coming back to the numbers, like I mentioned, these are the two possible advantages, and possibly a disadvantage of a numbered list is like it's more from a theoretical perspective, rather it's not too practical. You can't have in data's more than you can't store in data's more than triple line, triple line, triple line, triple line, four times triple line into your Anaplan, into a numbered list. So a numbered list can maximum hold the values up to this triple line, triple line, triple line, triple line. That is 12 times 9, not more than that. Okay. So these are the possible advantages, and this is the way how you are going to be using a numbered list. Any question, guys? Here.
No, Abhishek.
All right.
So this parent code and display name, these are the properties. But for, I mean, as we are manually enter this employee name, so we can, I mean, if I'm importing Excel, then other value should be there, right? Other
Yeah.
all columns will be there, right?
Yeah. The
On that
list should
I
have
can
all
put,
these values.
yeah.
Correct.
So can put filter on those columns. Right?
Yes. 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 Correct. Mhm. All right. So coming back to your question, of setting up a 53-week time scale, if I just answer you right now. So see, usually in an year, okay, there are 52 weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are 52 weeks, then it is into a factor of 13 into 4, 52, right?
Right.
Now, just imagine if it's a leap year.
Okay.
So leap year will have 53 weeks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one quarter has 3 months,
Right.
and 1 month has 4 weeks,
Weeks. Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
So you are able to form 3 into 4 factors, but the additional week which comes into a leap year,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So where you are going to be accommodating this? So it's more like when you have to define the 53 week, it is sufficient to set the day of the week on the which the maybe this planning whatever you want to do is going to be ending, and which you can or which you want to add into the 53rd week. So it's more related when you have extra weeks underlying over there, and when you have to just add in those values specifically.
So it's week number, right?
Yes. Mhm. All right. So is it okay, guys, if we extend a little today? Maybe 5 minutes, or we
Yeah,
are. It's a hard stop for us.
Yes,
yeah, we
I'm
can.
good with continuing.
Okay. Rupali.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's fine. So I'm just gonna be covering another type of list, and that is called a subset. All right, so we are just done with a numbered list, and what I'll strictly recommend you guys to please go through that and just complete creating a hierarchy list, complete creating a numbered list into the Anaplan, and just try to do that. If you have any issues, just let me know. By the way, did you guys got an access to your workspace till now?
No, Abhishek. Still didn't receive any mail.
Okay, so no one has done. How about you, Milo?
No, it's still waiting. I emailed them. It's still
Okay,
waiting.
can you guys do one thing? I'm just pinging you out a workspace credential. So use this credential to log into the Anaplan workspace, and I'm just creating two different models for you as well separately, so that you can do your practice and hands-on over here in this space.
Okay, Abhishek. The same URL we need to use, right?
Yeah, www.anaplan.com. Maybe you can try logging in at this point itself.
Okay. Workspace.anaplan.com, right?
www.anaplan.com. Just pin into the chat as well the link.
Mhm.
And then, so I've just created one, like model for Liu. Just I'm going to be creating one for you as well. Please just do anything what you have to do in this model. Okay, let's not do anything elsewhere. So if it will just logging into the workspace, you're going to be seeing the separate model created for you, practice Rupali, new practice. So you guys can use your different models, and accordingly start creating your hierarchy or a numbered list as part of the exercises involved. Okay,
Oh,
meanwhile, in your learning.tanaplan.com, you can complete watching the videos and the lessons, anything which is before lesson 3 currently. Okay, just go through. You understand, right, where I'm talking about learning.anaplan.com.
yeah.
So just giving you a brief overview. Currently, like I'm just trying to log into the workspace right now. Sorry, into the learning right now. I click on the model training. I click on the level 1 training program. That's how you guys need to navigate as well. You need to click here, level 1 model building. And then these are the lessons. Okay, so we are going to be covering each lessons. I'll be telling you till where you can complete. So at this point of time, we have done with anything till lesson 3. So you just go through this, click on this, enter that. There will be a lot of videos to watch. There could be a lot of exercises which you need to do and all that. So at least the video part you can start doing that. Exercises you can do once you have an access to your own workspace. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And let's start and discuss a little about a subset. Maybe I'll just give a brief overview. Practicals we are going to be seeing the other day, maybe next day. All right. So if I tell you what subset is, like subset, the literal meaning of the subset itself is you to select apart from an entire data set, an entire thing. So suppose this is the entire list of employees. Maybe I just want to select the employees who have an experience more than 5 years for my further calculations. So I'm just gonna be selecting one part. This is my the list of employees which are having experience more than 5 years over here. So I've just stored in that value. and I see this over here. But at in total, this employee list suppose have like 1,000 members. So this employee list, whose experience is more than 5 years, maybe that could be only 300 or 400 employees. So I'm explicitly defining into the criteria and extra parameters, and accordingly, I'm trying to see or filter a particular member into this list. So maybe that's an employee list. So I've just added in the members over here. So if I just tell you, like, what a subset is, a list subset contains list items from a larger list. That's what I mentioned. It's more like, selecting X minus from X. So, you are selecting a part from an entire list. So you are selecting a component, you are selecting a specific data from an entire data sets. So you are just talking about, selecting X minus from X. And since, you are going to be, selecting a part and you're going to be performing a calculation on a specific part, it helps you, in saving space and performance of the module. There's a concept of sparse cells and sparsity that we are going to be discussing, and your subset possibly helps you in reducing the sparsity. So let's take for an example. I have a product data, and my requirement was I wanted to see the forecasted sales on the basis of product by geography for the next fiscal year. Suppose my requirement changes and I say you I want to see the forecasted sales of the edible products by geography. The difference here, not products by geography, only the edible products by geography. So suppose like you have these product data with you. Suppose there are 500 product data. Maybe out of those 500 product data, there are only 100 products which are edible. What I'm going to be doing now, instead using that entire product data, I'm going to be just using the edible product section for my further calculations and assumption, as such, if any. Right? There could be another scenario. For instance, there is a list of employees, and the list of employee will have all the employees who have joined the organization in the past till date. But obviously the matter of fact is, if I just tell you, like, hey, I want to maybe give bonus percentage to the employees. Now that employee list suppose have a lot of data, a lot of employees which are inactive, then there is no point having in those employee which are inactive for calculating a bonus percentages on them. So ideally what I'll do, I'll go in an employee list, I'll create a subset, I'll create a subset of inactive employees, and for my further calculations or anything as such, I'm going to be using only the active employees, not the entire employee data, right? So that's how you are going to be using a subset. How to create that, how to use that, and the other advantages and the concept of sparsity we are going to be taking up into our tomorrow's session. Okay. Meanwhile, you guys can continue practicing a number list and a hierarchy list. How to create that? Try to create a hierarchy which is at 4 different levels, and try to create a number list. Let's see if you are able to do that, or if you are getting stuck in any of the process or the steps involved over there. And if you do are, just let me know. We are going to be discussing that into the tomorrow's session. By the way, before I wrap up, mind you, so is it like okay if we start 30 minutes late tomorrow? Instead 8 a.m. IST, can we start at 8:30 a.m.?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So it's fine for Milo. Rupali, is it fine for you?
Yeah, Abhishek, it's fine for me.
Okay. So tomorrow we are going to be having the session at 8:30 a.m. IST instead 8 a.m. I will inform the team the same, and let's connect at the same time then. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day, great night ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Okay,
Abhishek.
thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.